Welcome to World at Work TV. I'm Allison Avalos, and I'm here with Kerry Chou, and we're talking about compensation philosophies. Kerry, talk about what a compensation philosophy is.
Allison, a compensation philosophy is, at its most basic level, just a general, broad-based statement that can be written or unwritten about how an organization wants to reward their employees.
So what are some of the specific components you can expect to find in the typical compensation philosophy?
Now, there's no hard and fast rule about what can be included or excluded in a compensation philosophy. One of the most common things we see in a compensation philosophy is a statement about how the organization intends to pay relative to its competitors. So is the organization going to be paying approximately at market, above market, or even below market? Another thing that we commonly find is the mix. How does an organization want to include things like benefits, paid time off, work-life balance, just general things, so we can get a sense for what are the elements, what are the different levers that the company intends to use in terms of how to reward their employees. The statement about how the company rewards employees, what are valued, what types of things are valued. Do we value teamwork? Do we want individual employees to excel, and do we reward for that? A statement about how the company determines the value of jobs, its job evaluation system. So these kinds of things, again, they're quite broad, but it just gives a sense for those reading it, for employees, for executives, and for those setting pay programs and compensation programs as to sort of the overarching tenets that we have from a compensation standpoint.
In your experience, have you seen variation with regards to the levels of jobs, perhaps, or categories of jobs based on those approaches, or is it fairly general in a sense, referring to all employees at large?
In most cases, a compensation philosophy will be rather broad in nature. It is common for many compensation philosophy statements to include, we talked a minute ago about what the company will reward. Some compensation statements will get in some detail to say particularly hot skill or high talent employee groups, subgroups, we will actually pay above market. So you may see compensation statements that get into some detail to actually say, we are not going to just generally apply compensation over everyone equally. There will be certain employees or employee groups or high performers, for example, that are going to receive more. And that is a powerful statement for employees, for example, that may come to their manager and say, hey, everyone else got a 5% merit increase and I only got a 3% merit increase. And we can go back to the compensation philosophy and say, well, the rest of your group performed at a higher level, and so it really allows you to maintain some consistency and apply programs generally over time.
Are there other reasons that the compensation philosophy is particularly useful to an organization, or perhaps are there any risks for the organization who doesn't have a written compensation philosophy in place?
Yeah, Allison, I kind of think of the compensation philosophy as kind of a boat that's out on the lake or on the ocean with a particularly high wind. Okay, so the boat that has an anchor in the ground, it is not going to be able to drift real far. Whereas if there's no anchor, it's just going to blow in whatever direction the wind's going. With so many different employees within an organization, you have hourly workers, you have salaried workers, you have salespeople, you have engineers, technical people, executives. As you start building programs if you don't have that anchor in place. And of course, I'm referring to the compensation philosophy to go back. You can have one group come to you and say, oh, well, we need to do this because we have a particular need. You may build something, and then another part of the organization needs something else built. And then 2 or 3 years down the road, you sort of step back and you look at it and you realize that you have programs with differing objectives, and in fact your boat, so to speak, has drifted way off course. So one of the key advantages of having a compensation philosophy is really to have that anchor. When you have a new program, when you have a new initiative that may require designing something new, you can always refer back. You've got that point of reference to say, is this new program going to be consistent, or is this change going to be consistent with our overarching objectives? And I think that's one of the key advantages, is to make sure that you don't get too far off course, and it's easy to occur with all the different groups out there that are vying for your attention.
Love the analogy. Thanks, Kerry. For World at Work TV, I'm Allison Avalos.